I will let the floor to Jan first and ask him to introduce himself. That will be the best thing to be done. Thank you, Jan, for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Jan Sprengers. I'm the head of the programming and international department of the Performing Arts Fund in the Netherlands. I would like to tell you how I feel today. I am feeling kind of hopeful, but in these times I also feel kind of schizophrenic all the time. But I will come back to that later when I tell you more about what the situation is like now in the Netherlands. In my job for the Performing Arts Fund, I deal as well with the venues and festivals in the Netherlands, the funding of these venues and festivals, as well as all the international affairs. That means presenting Dutch performances outside of the Netherlands and supporting that on travel and transport, vice versa, foreign shows that are being presented in venues and festivals in the Netherlands, as well as international exchange projects. So in my job specifically, I have dealing with a lot of, I would say, problems. Everybody's dealing at the moment in this whole COVID-19 situation. Actually, at the moment in the Netherlands is kind of opening up. We had an intelligent lockdown, as we called it, meaning that there are restrictions, but there is also a big appeal to the people themselves to be responsible in creating like the 1.5 meter space and stay inside when you feel a cough or something. So it was a kind of an intelligent lockdown, but it was a lockdown, meaning for the performing arts in the Netherlands that all venues were closed from the 17th of March. There were no events possible, so also festivals in the performing arts were impossible to organize from 17th of March. Things kind of opening up since last week. That means specifically in the field of performing arts, that there is actually more possible, but it also creates a lot of new issues and questions. For example, from the 1st of June, venues are able to host 30 people. That is a little audience, I would say, but still, when you look at it in a positive way, it is an audience that you could host. But it also creates questions about how are you going to do this? How do you going to have this situation also economically healthy? So 30 people in the audience will not create the income that you would even be able to pay the one that's on stage. So there is these questions. And from the 1st of July, we have an opening up for venues from 100 people. Also, a big question is if it's including all the people on stage as well. So it also, there's not a big possibility for venues to be opening up.
Sorry, Jan, because
yeah.
I know that we can be lost in translation. You said that from the 1st of June, you have the possibility to open up to 100 persons. No.
No, from the 1st of June, 30, and from 1st of July,
100.
100,
okay.
yes.
Okay. Because and, I was my colleagues, I saw my colleagues like, okay, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Then the festivals, also I know most of you are festival organizers. The festivals, they are in big uncertainty in the Netherlands. Because events, as they say now, are not possible. Big events are not possible before there will be a vaccine for the COVID-19. So we all know that there's a lot of development on that side, but there's still not really like an how do you say it, like a certainty that there will be a vaccine very soon. From our point of view, we are one of the governmental funding bodies for the arts. And we deal specifically with the performing arts in the Netherlands. We try to be, and we are going to be, as flexible as possible. That means different things. We will be very considerate towards the promise that were made on the activities that we gave the funding for. For example, if you would present a festival and it will not take place, it does not necessarily mean that we will withdraw the funding. Same goes for the international traveling. If there are costs already being made for a group that travels outside of the Netherlands, or vice versa, that there are costs being made to present a show in the Netherlands, we still are willing to support or to cover the expenses with our funding. Also, what kind of created the schizophrenic in me is that we now, in our regular schemes that we have for funding, we have to be as flexible as possible to create new ways that apply to the new normal, as we call it as well. So we won't give any funding anymore, new funding for international traveling in the near future, but we will create a new funding for specifically makers, theater makers, to create new ways of performing or in this new normal situation, considering all the measurements that you have to deal with. So that we, and also for us, the live performing is very important. So we are now in the development of a new scheme that's called balcony scenes, which gives out like small amounts to individual makers to create something that they can perform in one way or another live to an audience, at an audience. So, and also we give funding, or we're creating new funding for venues and festivals that are working together with producing organizations to try to find ways to create in this new normal. So we all do this within our regular budgets. There is also in the Netherlands that created new money for also the performing arts, next to a lot of generic measurements that we made, like that also appeal to all other fields in the Netherlands outside of the performing arts, outside of the arts. There's specifically like 300 million euros now for the arts, which part of it will be for the performing arts, and the Ministry of Culture is now trying to find ways to divide this money, which creates a lot of, it's a very complex situation, because the diversity of problems is huge. The diversity of organizations is huge in the Netherlands. So it's either you have a kind of how do you say it? You have to meet a lot of conditions to get to the money, but that creates also a lot of it slows down the whole process of dividing the money, or you find ways to divide the money in a generic way. But that also means that it might come to people that don't need it a lot, and that the people that need it won't get it. So that is a complex problem we are now dealing with at the moment, which also slows down the process anyway of dividing the money. Meanwhile, we get a lot of yeah, a lot of information about organizations, cultural organizations that are really dealing economically with huge problems. So you see like a lot of venues, festivals, companies that are dealing with yeah, with the fact that they would not be able to survive this whole thing if there's not help being given. So that makes it a very complex situation in the Netherlands. But we are also hopeful in a way. Oh, yeah, no, the schizophrenic. I was going schizophrenic because we are at the same time now working on assessing applications for the 21-24 period. We have this scheme which funds festivals and producing organizations for the period of 4 years. So in this period, we are now assessing applications that were sent in on the 2nd of March, was pre-COVID. So we are now assessing plans which we don't even know if that anything is going to happen from what they try to create. But still, we feel a big responsibility to look at the future and also assess these application as if they were going to take place, as they were thought about before COVID. So that creates a very like mixed up feelings about, okay, on the one hand you see these organizations with the big problems that they have to deal with, and on the other hand it's very very hopeful that there are still plans that you can assess and maybe fund also for the next 4 years, and hopefully a lot of these plans will take place eventually, but it's a big question mark actually. So that's kind of the situation at the moment now in the Netherlands, and from my point of view as a funding body.
Thank you. In fact, that was what were curious to share and to listen to, because I'm not sure that we all have this feeling that institutions are in the same point that we are. I mean, we are both challenged, and this is my personal point of view, and I say it in a provocative way also for you to collect this provocation in the working group. How much do we feel that we have the same challenges that we are facing from different point of view, artists and institutions? Because I strongly believe that this is a moment in which we should reinforce our dialogue, because we are really in the same situation of facing the unknown. And we finished a process in September in Norway with the gathering. That was the topic of the Assitej gathering, facing the unknown, and that is what we are facing now. So I will let the floor.
Can I just add, yeah, because also here we are facing the unknown, of course, but we cannot do that as a funding body like all by ourselves. We do need also all the institutions, all the organization, all the cultural organization, that we all work together towards solutions. We all know that the 300 million euros that is being provided for the arts is not enough to help everybody to, because there's also a lot of the arts in the Netherlands which is not funded, that which are totally how do you say it? They are totally relying on the ticket sales, on their own income out of the activity that they do. So the problems are much bigger than the 300 million euros that is now available as extra money to help everybody and to be certain that everybody will get through this crisis. So, but we all need to stick together also and have some kind of a solidarity, that we try to see all the problems and we try to help wherever we can. But we also, yeah, like funding is a big trust thing. we provide money and we trust all the companies to be very responsible, that they do whatever they have to do to yeah, but it's a public funding, so you all know about this. That means also that if there is a problem like a pandemic as we deal with now, we all want also the organizations to cut their costs as much as possible, to be responsible with this money that they get extra. You know, it's not a good way that you would do things that are not realistic just by thinking that you might have your festival in October. If it's not realistic, please be wise and not spend money that's not needed to be spent also. So there's all kind of different things that we have to work together on.
Yeah, thank you, because you brought on the floor a few words that I want to underline that are really important. That is that sometimes we don't think that are words that are used by the institutions, because I speak from my personal point of view and what we see in some discussions. And this is the word responsibility that I want to put under the light. And you said something that I think is important, that is the relation between trust and responsibility, and the fact that we need to be realistic and wise. This is something that is not so frequent, just to put on the floor one information. Now, since you said if you have a festival, but it's not possible to do it, just have a plan B or be wise and realistic and tell us what you will do. I will let the floor to for the lady first. Kees, forgive me, but I am in that way, sorry. So Suzanne, and I let you introduce yourself. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm Suzanne VERBOEKET. We run a festival which is called the Enchantment Festival, de Betovering in Dutch. Every autumn holiday. It's a festival, an international arts festival, but we have a focus on performing arts. And we organize it together with some 50 venues in the city of The Hague in the Netherlands. And every year we invite more or less 15 to 20 international companies to come to. And well, we started programming for this year about a year ago, and then certainly the last couple of months some companies said, well, we're not sure that we are able to bring the thing we plan, because we cannot rehearse, because we're not sure if we can travel. We are so now we've got like a 75% programmation old-fashioned. So we keep that safe for the moment, because we're so not sure how the situation in 5 months will be. Will everything be locked down again, or will it be very open, or will we be allowed to sell 20% of the tickets, and what does that mean economically? So we put this old-fashioned programmation kind of on a pause for at least, I think, a month now. We program this festival together with the venues, which means that things can only come into the festival if both us as programmers and the venue agree on this particular performance, and both the venue and we pay for the performance, and we share the revenues from the tickets, which normally is a very practical way, because then you can like share the loss of every performance with all the cultural venues in town. But at this moment, it complicates making choices much more than usually, because how to respond to the current situation is already difficult, because we can only look ahead for about a month or so, but all our partners respond differently to this uncertainty. The institutions helping us financially, they also respond differently. So we've got like the government, the local and the national government, we are funded by them, and they both give us a lot of space. So they say they won't hold us accountable for if we do not come up with the things we planned for, but that they just hope we spend the money as wise as we can in this, well, in this unknown situation. But some funds where we're still waiting for the answers, they do want a plan B and a plan C, which we find quite difficult because the situation changes almost every 2 or 3 weeks. So by the time they get to read our plan B, the situation is completely new again. So at this moment, we're kind of talking with we're financed by about 14 different institutions. We are thinking about only wanting to cooperate with them if they're willing to take the risk with us and to take the chance, because we don't know where we will be in October. The most safest way is just to stop doing everything right now. That way we're sure to not have spent the money on bad things, but that's not the way we want to go. And if we use money now, there could be something big in October, but there also could be something very small. So there's a chance and there's a risk. And we are now thinking of only working with those financial partners who are willing to take this risk with us, not knowing how the path will go. And in the meantime, trying to communicate as much as we can with all our venues, our companies, and also our financial partners. Which means for now, for example, that we're trying to decrease our international programmation because the chances are so high that it won't be able to be realized anyway. We're not sure, but the chances are high, and it's a very expensive part of our programmation. And see if we can use that budget for a more COVID-proof programmation.
What do you mean with that word?
COVID-proof. It means two things. It means the first one, we need to invite artists to give a response to this complete new world. It would be weird to have a festival as if, even if it's technically possible, to have a festival as if nothing has happened. But also so it's not only in an artistical way, but also in a practical way. So if the one of the uncertainties is that we cannot join with a lot of people in one venue, maybe we should think differently about venues. Maybe we should do like invite artists to make theater which runs through the streets and the people can look from it from their houses, so that we create parades. Or maybe we should, we're a festival with both workshops, both active and kids can make things themselves and they can look at professional arts. Maybe we should, because kids are allowed to do more than grown-ups, because they think the kids don't spread the virus that strong as grown-ups. Maybe we should ask professionals more to do with the kids and make the kids performing parts a bigger part of the festival, and make them perform, for example, in the courtyard of elderly homes, or in the middle of a center where flats can look again at that what is being performed. So completely looking at it from a practical different way and from an artistic different way, and still aiming, very important for us, that it's all about the live experience. So we do not believe in a digital alternative for us. I think a lot of good digital alternatives are already being given by the companies, and it's already there and it already can be reached. We do not believe that we as a festival have a role in making more digital stuff. So it has to be about a live experience. It has to be about triggering children's fantasy. It could even be things like asking all the public transport in the town to do something different for a week, to put wings on the buses and to put pilot hats on the drivers, or just to make like little interventions in the public space, which activates imagination. And so now, to make it a bit more brief, we're talking with our institutions about no risk scenario now we cannot give you. So then we shouldn't work together this year and just save the money for next year, or you're willing to join us to see as month or passing by, what can we do? And we do not know yet what it is, but we want to explore it and want to take the chance. A bit less international programmation, a bit more COVID-proof programmation. That is where we stand now.
Okay, thank you. You said one thing that is connected with what we have been discussing the last meeting, that was about the possibility of international touring to still exist. And of course, you're confirming in a realistic approach the fact that maybe this will be a time in which we will make more concentration or more attention on the national artist. We are not opening this discussion now, but just bear in mind that, and let's be aware of the danger of this approach, and also if maybe we can think to have national programming but still reinforce bridges and relation at the international level, which are the possibility. This I put it in the discussion, because when we will have the working group, maybe one of the responsibility we should feel is to still reinforce our international bridge, and maybe we can think about something that we can ask our institution to bear in mind to reinforce international relation, even if maybe funding or feeding more the national artists, because otherwise they will not survive. So just to be open to that and to have a kind of stimulation for our discussion after. So, KEES, it's your time. Thanks for being with us. Traveling in Amsterdam. When we think to Amsterdam, is one of the most international places in the world. So are you going to have a national festival in this city? Tell us.
Yeah, it's so quiet now here in Amsterdam. It's almost no tourists. The canals are empty. We can see even the ducks swimming there, no boats. So it's kind of a strange situation, yeah. So, hello, I'm KEES BLIJLEVEN. I'm artistic director of Theater de Krakeling in the city of Amsterdam, and we do have like yearly 300 performances for children and young people. I'm also the chair of Assitej Netherlands. From that on, I know people like Nicolas and Francois. And we're founded by the city of Amsterdam. And we do yearly like 4 festivals. 2 of them are programming also international. One of them is the Pop Arts Festival in April. But now, 2 years ago, we started a new festival in October. This year it's gonna be 1 week before the Betovering, 1 week for the enchantment in The Hague. We're going to cooperate together on bringing some international shows in, so that we can combine a couple of festivals for a couple of shows. So, but as Suzanne already stated, things have changed a lot, and now we're also restructuring our whole festival. We were going to do it with 6 places, spread all over town, with like 55 shows coming in. But now we try to make it more smaller, and we have a concept that we we also have in the city to work with the stores, that is support your locals. We find it now in this time very important to tighten the change between the companies, the audience, and the venues, because a lot of companies don't have a lot of money. So if we don't program them or give them money, they won't survive. The other way around, if we don't have companies, we have no reasons to exist. And also the audience, there are some signals they want to come, but they find it difficult. So in that area, we are trying to cooperate with local artists, because a lot of local artists don't have the money and they won't survive. And we've given them small assignments to make some small things for the festivals. And these assignments should be COVID-proof, in the sense, not too many players, or 1.5 meter distance, and also maybe about the subject. So what does it mean for children to live in society that has to deal with COVID? Because we feel a lot of attention is going to the elderly people. That's not only because they are the most risky factor, but the children, what does it mean for them? They couldn't go to schools. They were bored by themselves. They couldn't go to families, to their grandmothers. What does that mean? I'm trying to make some small performance and shows on that theme. That means that also in that aspect, the international shows, we would like now 4 international shows for our upcoming festival, probably are not able to come, and we will use that money. We won't spend on them to give that assignments. For instance, I booked a company from Italy. I saw last year on Segni, company Unterwasser with Amabari, and I don't know if you know it, but it won't be possible to do that on a scale with 1.5 meters distance. So my plan is to postpone that to next year and invite them in 2021 after COVID area, but then use the money I reserve for that to give small assignments to other people.
Sorry, just to have it clear, are you assigning the money to another national company, or I mean, I'm just a little bit stressing on this, because I'm sure that all our colleagues are interested in this detail, not because we are criticizing that, but just to have clear which kind of approach and which is the reflection behind.
Yeah, but I'm trying to book performance I booked internationally for this season to postpone it to next seasons. So that's the only way, because apart from the impossibility to travel internationally, it won't be possible to have the audience on a 1.5 meter distance in this peculiar specific shows. I'm a strong supporter of international exchange. I'm also chair of Assitej. So that's in our DNA. But we feel that in these times we should stuck to a little bit to local artists. And we have the big opportunity to. We are in the city of Amsterdam, and the city feels very deeply that they need the cultural institutions to build up the city after the COVID area. So there's a big feel of urgency. Last Friday they said we're gonna 70 million euros for the cultural institutions from Amsterdam to fill their first needs until July, so they won't go bankrupt. Like there are 300 cultural institutions in the city of Amsterdam, and people feel that it's an international city, so people come here to visit the Anne Frank House, to visit the Van Gogh Museum, to see the big orchestra. So they feel, but they also feel that the big institutions cannot exist without the smaller ones. So also we can get some money from that fund. So we won't go bankrupt and can pay our own rents and the salaries of our own people. So that's a big advantage from being in the city of Amsterdam. There's also one, we also were planning to do a premiere of a co-production this season as opening for the festival, and we also postponed that to next year. So we also, from our own point of view, are looking at what can we do. Is it now necessary to do this performance, or is it better to make another one? This instead of that, we gave the artistic director of that co-production an assignment to make something small on the COVID theme. Also, we were planning to do a showcase with Assitej International. This year would be a co-production with the Enchantments and the Krakening Festival. And we're now still looking if that is possible to organize. It doesn't look, our view at this moment is not that optimistic. Can people come, programmers from all over the world, and see that shows, and afterward what will happen? So that's also a big uncertainty we have to cope with, and we have to, we together with people like Jan and Mia Krans, maybe you know her, we have to decide on that in the month of June, what can we do? But there are some lighting points, like Jan stated, 1st of June we can start small companies, and also from July with hopefully 100 people, and maybe in September with something more. But it's financially, it's very unstable, because what can you do? Now each activity will cost us a lot of money, so we have to find a balance to what can we do and don't go bankrupt at the end of the year, and ask for the city, what can you do? Can you give some money? So that's quite balancing all over. So, but we can feel that the city also finds it very important that there's a culture for all the kids in Amsterdam. So we have an elder woman who has a deep heart for that. So that's a good sign. Okay, that's more or less what I had prepared.
Thank you. We have, let's say, 5 minutes left, but we can also take just a smaller time more if we want to have a direct question to you, because maybe something was not clear, or maybe I wrote something wrong in the chat and you want to precise and to specify something, because I'm translating for the Italians who can understand. I will just put the light again on something that you have said. You have been putting on the table some, let's say, problems and issues we need to face, and we don't have solutions. The word that touches me is the word of the balance. Okay, the schizophrenia that Jan brought on the floor, and the balance that has to be taken together. And since we want to reflect on how we can ask the institutions, or how institutions can help us, one thing is maybe how they can help us to keep on reinforcing our international relation, even if we don't program an international show, because we know very well that international relations are not done only by programming an international show. In the logic of which are the long-term projects that we can ask to be funded, to have the time and the energy to go on reinforcing those relations. For example, this meeting of the day is one of the examples. We asked to change in this wise and realistic approach to our Ministry of Culture, to use some money that was meant to be used for the traveling to be here today. And this is a wise way, I think, to use that time and this money. And we were astonished because the Ministry of Culture, even the Italian one, they said, yes, it's fantastic. And they were even participating to this meeting, thing that we have never reached before, to have some of them listening to us and telling us, oh, Theatre for Young Audience is doing something interesting. You are triggering solutions. So, for example, in that logic, another fact that I think we need to reflect is how to reinforce the trust between us and the institutions. You said that the feeling that the administration in your city is aware of the importance of doing activities for children in that moment. This is hopeful, and this is reinforcing the trust that you have in institutions. So how can we reach that, or how can we have a dialogue in the direction of reinforcing the trust? And another word that is important, how can we reinforce the awareness of diversity of the situations, and how can we help the institutions to find different plans that can help the small theater and the big structure, and how can we work on the fact that those two are part of one proposal that, as you said, and you are lucky because you are forward than us, but we can use your energy to be there together. How can we help institutions to understand that the panorama, the scene is done by the big and the small, and that they need to be together? We have two questions.
There's a lot of questions in those sentences, Christina, but it's clearly that we all are kind of in the survival modus, and not only here in the Netherlands, but all over. And but I think the key word for the next year in international relations will be sustainability. How can we work on sustainable relationships, and how can we find also in that the diversity, that we have to make choices next year for what is really the most important thing, with which countries or companies or institutions can we cooperate and make sustainable relationships, and that we have to choose on that. And that is how I feel. Like we have here in the Holland, it was the Holland Festival. There's all month of July, there's the biggest festival in the Netherlands with all kinds of international performances from all over the world. The opening show was from Indonesia, there's from America, from all over. Maybe it's time to look at that. Not it's not important, but what brings it to us to bring all those things in like this, but can we not do this on a different way? That's why, because one of the reasons why Suzanne's festival and the Krakeling are starting to work together, so can we bring some international things in together, so that it won't come in for just one thing. Right? That's about sustainability. That's for me, that's the key word for the next years, I think, in international relationships.
Suzanne, do you feel you want to add something on this? And have a look also to the chat, because there are two questions that are somehow connected. It's a kind of question and a sort of solution about where will be the diversity in this if we have the fear of international exchange. And Jessica is kind of suggesting a solution. Maybe we can have another approach to co-production, like, for example, starting from a common idea, theme dramaturgy, that can be translated by different companies from different countries in different ways. It's anyway keeping the relation going on with doing a different way, doing what we can do at the moment. So, and another question for the three of them. How is the relation between workers? I mean, of course, artists, but not only. Also freelance that are employed in the cultural field and the structures, theaters, and big programmers. Because in Italy, we are struggling in a bad way. Personal opinion of Marta Galli from Teatro del Buratto about this topic. So, quick answer if you want, and then we will go on discussing all this stimulation in our small group.
Yes. Well, I very strongly believe in connecting outside of your own country, just also to get a more, to learn from each other and to understand each other better and to be, it's just that the old-fashioned way, even before this COVID emerged, we noticed that certain things were not right the way we were handling internationalizations. Just inviting a company was great for our audience to get a broader view, but it left a very small cultural heritage. It's not that the international companies come in and see a lot of Dutch work. It's not that a lot of Dutch artists come and see this international work. So the effect was we were not so happy about the effects of our own exchange of sending companies and inviting them. So we were thinking about, and we also have this this climate issue. So how is it okay to invite a country to take the plane to come and play at your festival and then let them go back again? So we're thinking about alternatives to make better use of these international contacts. So for example, inviting a director to come and work with local artists, or maybe remake this performance, which is interesting. And then you get so much more artistic exchange than with the simple inviting and sending companies over. This is also, I think, a great example of a good way of working together. We're all in this very uncertain world. Let's change uncertainties. Let's change ideas. Let's exchange ways of coping. So yes, I 100% believe in international exchange. It's just that I do not really believe in the I think we can do better than the old-fashioned way, and I think this maybe makes that a bit quicker, this transition of international cooperation.
This is a nice answer. I feel comfortable with that. We can do better than what we were doing. Kees or Jan? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can tell something about, or maybe answer the question about the freelancers here in the Netherlands, which is actually a major issue also. It was already an issue before the COVID-19 crisis, because a lot of the performing arts also is depending upon the freelancers that are working in our sector. There was a main discussion about fair pay in the Netherlands before COVID-19, because a lot of people were underpaid for the work that they do in the performing arts field or in the arts in general. So now COVID-19 came, so it's even beyond the discussion of fair pay, because most of these people, they lost their work, and as in one split second, they completely lost future and work. So they were able to apply to the generic measurements for freelance workers in the Netherlands. But apparently a lot of those conditions that they had to meet weren't met by them to be able to get to these generic measurements. So it is an issue. And now the Ministry of Culture, they said we're gonna try to support the big institutions as much as possible, because they will also provide work for the freelancers in the Netherlands. But that also created kind of a protest from this group of freelance workers, because they usually don't work for these big institutions. They create their own work from their own freelance status. So it is an issue, and there are new measurements coming up also for freelance workers, and hopefully there will be specific attention also for the people that work in the arts, and did not apply yet to these measurements that were for freelance people before. So what's an issue, because it's the whole cultural field in the Netherlands is depending for a great part upon these people that have freelance jobs.
Yeah. Kees, do you want to add something, or we go for the coffee?
There was also a question about the schools from from Belgium. That the problem now with the schools is the schools for the children under 12 years old just reopened yesterday, but they stated that it's very difficult for them to go to theater again. So and only for 12 and up, from the 1st of June, it's now expected they can go to schools, and we won't expect them to come to the theater like this season, maybe in September going on, but hopefully for children in groups, the measurements like being on our 1.5 meters can mean for us that we can do programs for schools after summer. So that's also a big advantage, but yeah, and anything can happen like this. There's going to be another outbreak of the COVID. It also can mean another lockdown. So that's let's answer your question, Emma.
So I wrote down role of international cultural exchange, tolerance, empathy against nationalism, as Europe is falling in the hand of nationalism, so what we can do to prevent it, respect to the diversity, Assitej representation within the institutions, make the sector visible and visible as a community, sharing the money, advocate for resources to adapt to the COVID situation, and ask for more support. Is that all?
Yeah. Quite enough and quite good. Yes.
Okay.
So, Gruppo 2.
So group 2, yes, very fast. Keywords are summertime program, for Italy, donations, and asking for private contributions in the form of donation. And then we have examples from Serbia and Netherlands. And I want to share very fast the last thing we talked about. In the Netherlands, they are genius or crazy people. They are trying to create COVID communities, which means people are staying inside the theaters for 2 weeks. Like that, actors are allowed to contacts because they become familiar, and then they sell tickets online. I think this is extreme, but great.
Forte! This is a nice format. Dai, go ahead. Crazy but interesting. Yeah.
This is, and the rest
challenging.
Is the report.
3.
Okay, we were group number 3. Our keywords are community against capitalism, back to basis, the importance of protocols, and the need of emergency money to survive. Finish.
Wow, Thanks for bringing on the floor this old forgotten word, capitalism. Huh?
Ah, yeah.
So,
group number 4, I think it's us. First word is sharing good models. Sometimes institutions don't know exactly how things or some things work in our field. So it's good to trigger curiosity from institution. And try to understand how much they ignore. Then it's good to consider the specificity of each national scenes. There are different situations and it's good to face them. And then shifting the focus on projects and children, not only on problems. And then we also talked about finding a common voice, like a choir, that has all the diversity inside, but is centered on the common needs to ask also for minimal criteria that are good for everyone. And then there was also a beautiful image on forest, jungle, and Italian garden, but I can't explain it now. We didn't have to.
it came from me.
You'll find a beautiful, an amazing, perfect written report about it.
Yeah, it was about the fact that with our field, the diversity is connected with the forest, that links to the jungle approach. And when we speak with institutions, we ask for rules and we speak about criteria and applications that may look harmonic and beautiful, like Italian Renaissance garden. I was like enlightened by this picture. So group 5.
Okay, so group 5, we question about the long-term logic, how to sort it out in this scenario. Digital is not an alternative, first issue. Splitting planning in time, so planning conceived in different phases, so that we don't have to work specifically in this right time for the future, but in different times. Reinforcing relations as an opportunity throughout the digital. The digital as an opportunity to develop orality, oral storytelling, stories, and so on and so forth. Integrate the digital into the artistic work, and the digital as a performing space, why not? And finally, environmental sustainability.
Group 6.
Okay, keywords: listening, comprehension, knowledge, and trust. For the beginning, in the meaning of the relation with institutions. So creativity, unity, and new possibilities, like as strategy to face to the problems. And maybe a solution, it could be social impact, in the meaning of having a term of exchange, and to make institutions understand what it could be the role of art in the society. And at the end, mind the gap and fill the gap between big institution and independent reality that has different treatment from the government.
Thank you. If that's all, thank you. If Jan or Susanne or KEES wants to add one word or a commentary, since they are in the role of our guest today, the floor is open for you.
I would like, because we also in our discussion had the topic upon in the Netherlands, it's also very important that you create a positive public opinion about the work that you do. It is actually not as useful as you might think that you ask for the funding too much, which creates also a negative negative image in the Dutch public opinion, because also in Netherlands it sounds very positive, like the story I told, but also we have political structures that are changing. We have also a new more kind of populistic parties coming in. They don't have any sense for the cultural field in the Netherlands. It's very important as the field of the art that you create a big public positive opinion, so that you are like also you have a future also within the people that are living in your country. And that, yeah, too much focusing on getting the funding might have a negative effect on that part.
Thanks for bringing to us one important issue that we had before, because as we discovered, I think all of us, we are facing in a more deep and complex way all the problems that we already had, but that we were facing with small daily life solutions and not facing them in a so strong way. Because what you said is what we are all facing, that is the problem of the connection between the popular movement and the public opinion, and the fact that politicians move themselves and have decisions that are connected with the public opinion, and the fact that we should be aware of the responsibility as a cultural sector that we have to better alphabetize or reach those persons that are, and if I can say a kind of hopeful point of view, this is a huge opportunity that we have to reach those people, because they have been doing nothing, and they were, maybe we reach it if people that were not aware of what was culture. And this, I think, that happened in all the countries. And I will add the last thing, that is that we have, that came out in our small group, but we should be aware of the power that we have as a network, being part of Assitej. Because no one, I don't think other sector in culture has a so powerful network like we have it. And this is the time to reinforce that, to speak with institutions, with Europe. I know that there are colleagues working on the idea of transforming Assitej in an European funded network. We are speaking about that and reflection on it. But this is the time, because we are the one that can have a crucial role in reaching those people who are the public opinion, mainly because we speak to their children and the parents. So this is a huge occasion. So that was a really enriching and empowering discussion today with you all. I want to thank you.